Previously on Beep's Bizarre Adventure, we trained Beep up, then got a group together and took down the Dust King. And afterwards, we continued to take down various bounties, including Tora the Fearless. Today, however, our goal is to take down the Screamer twins, who are a tough fight, and they're holding Beep's future best friend, Agnu, hostage. We start today's episode off by fighting some raiders outside the way station we're staying at, which goes pretty well. And then we check on Jerry's stats, and we see he's a grandpa now, with a stat multiplier of 1.1, which makes me feel confident enough to venture out towards the Great Desert. Now along the way though, we run into some cloud ninjas, and if you remember last time, we got absolutely thrashed by some black dragon ninjas. So it's nice to get some secondhand revenge on these guys, as well as get some of the loot that they have, which sells for a high price. So we continue our travel, and then we get ambushed by some skimmers. Now these guys are fast and hard, and they do manage to catch up to us, so we do unfortunately have to fight them. We managed to win the fight luckily, but we're heavily injured, with 3 people down and the other 4 heavily injured. So we start setting up a campsite to rest up, as if we go into the Great Desert while injured, we're not going to be able to run away from fights, and then we're not also going to be able to win the fight. And there's major threats within the desert, including more skimmers, as well as the bastards manhunters, who'll try to enslave us. And once we're healed up, we head into the town of Shobatai, as I want to sell off a gear we've gathered, as well as buy Silver Shade a blunt weapon, as I'm trying to create some weapon diversity in our group. And for now, we'll rest up in Shobatai and check up on Kat, who we see has just finished the watchtower. So we built a couple facilities inside, including a new research bench, as well as a couple of chests for storage space. And once the party's healed up, we head straight out of town into a group of 4 slave hunters. And they think it's a good idea to pick a fight with us for some reason, so that doesn't really end well for them. And then we run into a group of manhunters. Now I feel like manhunters are a bit smarter than slave hunters. Well, that was a bit of a dumb decision, wasn't it? But it doesn't end up all bad though, as we do get a jet for Silvershade, and we're heading towards the Floodlands for our next recruit. But along the way, we run into some city heroes, who are just a bunch of racists towards Beep, because he's a stick man, as they call him. So we take them down, and I'm more than happy to do that, as they do need to be taken down a peg. And we make our way to the outskirts of the Great Desert, as there's a Hive village here. So we head inside their shop and buy the Hive leather shirt blueprint for crafting. And then we continue on our journey towards the Floodlands. And along the way, we run into the village of Dead Cat, where they're getting attacked by a bunch of cannibals. So I feel like it's our duty to help them, and then we head inside to one of their shops, where we sell off some animal products, including some leather, and all the animal teeth we've gathered. And we buy ourselves a Sangdosa for green, as well as an armored helmet for Slick. Finally arrive in the Floodlands, a very sad biome in all honesty. And we find our new recruit, Burn, who's an ex-adventuring skeleton who decided to retire because his parts were getting rusty. But we managed to convince him to join the party by saying we'll carry his weight. And then we explore the tower he's living in, which includes many valuables, including a new crossbow and skeleton parts. We then check inside the ruins in the center of the Floodlands, and we spot some security spiders. Now if you know anything about these guys, you know they hit like a truck. And I've had so many parties get one-shot by these guys, and I'm not taking risks with this one. So we take all the security spiders on, one by one, and then once we're done, we head upstairs and loot the ruins, which is great, as we're going to head over to the Armor King, the best armor trader in Kenshi. And we arrive at the Armor King without any issues along the way. Although our bank account is pretty low, we've gathered a lot of expensive gear along our adventure, so that's not such an issue. And let me tell you, the Armor King sells his equipment for a very high price, as it is mostly specialist and masterwork. And while I was buying this equipment, I kind of try to keep in mind what I wanted each of my 4 party members to look like, to kind of fit what they're doing. So with Slick, I fit her with some badass martial artist drip. And then with Beep, I kind of try to make him look like a mighty warrior to intimidate his foes. Oron's kind of similar to Beep, but more in the sense of a heavy tank rather than a mighty warrior. And for Jay, I try to make her look like a deadly ninja, who slices her enemies up, but gets sliced up in the process. Now that we're done with the Armor King, we start heading home. But we do stop at World's End, as with Green's new crossbow, we do need new bolts for him to use, and he's going to destroy with this crossbow now. And then we start heading more towards home, but we do get stopped by some holy paladins. Now if you know these guys, you know that they're all these holy assholes that basically just hate everybody who's not a human. And we can't run away, and we get into a fight with them, and they do beat us. Now, unfortunately, Silvershade decides to try to crawl and attack them, and in the process he does lose his arm. So I set up a little campsite to try to rest up, as I do want to get home. But another holy asshole patrol comes along and gets into a fight with us. Now, it's not all bad, as we are getting some combat EXP, but I do want to get home quickly. So the next patrol that comes along, we actually avoid by just hiding around a hill. And then we pack up our campsite and head off towards home. Now while the party's on their way, we have Cat buy some iron plates, as I was going to get him to make some leather armor crafting, but I actually made him make a crafting armor bench. So we'll deal with that later. But for now, the party's just past the cactus den, which is a ninja tower with the sand ninjas in it, which will be useful for later. But we get into a fight with some more skimmers, and we actually destroy the skimmers now. None of our people get knocked unconscious, and we win the fight easily. And after such a long time on the road, we're finally able to rest up at home, where we offload all our supplies that we've gathered, including research books, as well as medical supplies for both our human and skeleton adventurers. We're also able to fix that issue before where we crafted an armor bench and make ourselves a tanning bench for leather. And while we're here, we have Burn start training up his strength for carry weight and blunt damage, as well as have Cat start crafting some leather for armor smithing. Once Burn's training's done though, we leave Cat lit crafting leather and we head off towards Venge, where Agnu is. And along the way, we run into this horrible slave owner, who's selling this Hive soldier drone called Ray for 1,000 cats, which isn't that much, so we buy his freedom and continue towards Venge. And we do run into a small hiccup along the way with some grass pirates, but it's nothing we can't handle at this point, and it's great training for Ray. And afterwards, we finally arrive in Brink, which is going to be our base of operations for a while. And there are a ton of mercenaries here, but unlike previously, I'm going to try to avoid using them, and instead we're going to train up on some bounties. And the first bounty on our list is the leader of the Scavengers, which is just a generic United Cities bandit group. We head inside their base and we start a fight with them, and they're pretty easy as they're not well armored. So we pick up the bounty, and then we head back off to Brink to turn in our not so hard earned reward. For the next fight, we head into Gut, which is known to be the home of the Beak Things, as there's many herds inside, but we're not here for that, as we head straight over to the bounty and Beep just one-shots the guy, which is a bit disappointing. Along the way back to Brink, we run into a Beak Thing and we decide to fight it, just kind of as a way to prove how mighty we are at this point. And we continue on our journey and turn in the 15k bounty. All the fights up to this point have been kind of a bit disappointing, so I rest up in town until nightfall and we begin to head over to the Screamer Twins, as I feel like we're prepared by now. We arrive by daybreak, and then we go up the ramp and start to prepare for the fight. And by that I mean we run straight in and try to fight it off. Now, there's a lot of red numbers that pop up during this fight, as they do have the numbers. Because of these numbers, green actually gets brought into melee combat. Now, we do try our best and we do manage to damage them quite a bit, but by the end, it's only Beep left and he does get knocked unconscious. And even in the effort, he does actually lose one of his legs as well, which is kind of a good and a bad thing. Luckily for us, the enemy actually evict us outside of their home, and although we get beaten up a little bit, we do eventually manage to get up and heal up the rest of our party, which means that we're going to be able to set up camp and rest up. But I guess the enemy doesn't like that, as they come out to fight us. Now this is both a good and a bad thing, as we are already pretty injured and this is just making us more injured. But the good thing is we're able to take down one of the Screamer Twins 3-on-1, and we actually managed to win the fight against them. And then the other Screamer Twin actually comes out to heal his allies, which means we've now taken down both of them. This is a little bit disappointing, as I wanted to try to take this fight on fairly, but this does allow us to set up camp inside of the base, so that we can avoid those pesky sunbeams that happen during the day, as well as rest up in the safety of this building during the whole night. Once we're rested up though, we go on and fight the rest of the skeletons inside, which ends up pretty easy as they're just weak thralls. And then we free Agnu, who looks pretty excited that he's free now. We loot the facility and we get many different valuable things, such as research books, a new Nodachi for Jay, which she's kind of been needing one for a while now, as well as some other research stuff such as a AI core and engineering research. Now, we didn't find a left leg for Beep unfortunately, so we'll have to go buy one. But once we're healed up, we head off towards Brink so that we can kind of sell off all the extra loot we've found. We actually have a Malto Saber for Oron, as well as a Mato Heavy Polearm for Ray. And this is pretty much going to be the rest of our party for the rest of the playthrough, assuming nothing bad happens. We turn on our 2 bounties. The first one valued at 20k, and then when we turn in the second, we get another 20k. Although we haven't sold off all our loot yet. So once we've done that, we're actually sitting at a nice healthy 110,000, which is enough for robotic parts. But before we buy our new skeleton limbs, we head off towards home, as we have a lot of equipment we've gathered from the Screamer Twins. And this includes more research stuff, as well as animal hides for Cat to work on. Once we've dropped off our stuff though, we start heading towards the Black Desert, as that's where the best skeleton limbs are, and we can buy new weapons as well. Along the way to the Black Desert, we fight some enemies, and that includes getting new equipment for Ray. And then we take a bit of a detour, as I remember that we actually accidentally bought a wrong leg before, and so we attach that to Beep, and now he's Cyber Beep. But some of our other party members still need new limbs, so we head over to the Black Desert City, and we have a lot of money to spend on this, so we're able to splurge a bit. We get Silvershade a high quality arm, as well as Ray a high quality leg. And then even though Beep just got a leg, I upgrade his to Masterwork. We then head into the scrap house for the second time this playthrough, and we get the same thing we got the first time, a Falling Sun, except higher quality this time. We also get Burn a high quality Moon Cleaver, and the Dust Coat recipe for both Burn and Agnu. We then get a Jit for Silvershade, and then with that, we're pretty much done with our purchases, as now we're broke. And on the journey back home, Beep's excited about being a skeleton now that he's got his limbs. And although Burn's a bit of a cynic about it, that doesn't keep Beep's excitement down, as he talks about being more like Agnu, and even Agnu's excited about it. See Burn, you just have to be less cynical and be more like Agnu. Once we get back home though, we leave it off with Cat just crafting more new light armor. And next time we're going to see what the result of that is, but for now we're going to leave it here. Next time, we're going to take down the Black Dragon ninjas and get our revenge on them once and for all.